Hello and welcome back to Change Talks. This is the podcast where we don't just talk the theory of change, but where we take a practical and pragmatical look at how to make the change work in real life. And the best way how to do that is to talk with people who managed or experienced substantial changes either in their careers, business, or even personal life. Today, I've got someone who embodies change on all these levels. Zuzana Fiantokova. Zuzana started her career in the high-pressure and fast-paced, or rather fast-floating, world of cruise ship industry. Then she pivoted her career towards HR in hospitality and real estate. But the demanding corporate top tiers very often come with an unwanted price tag. Fortunately for Zuzana, she recognized the burnout warning signs in time to hit the emergency brake. So instead of crashing, she took a 9-month sabbatical to redefine her path. And that break led to her career coaching and later into the change management consulting. And when you consider that Zuzana also has lived in 4 different countries so far, I guess we have a lot to discuss today. So Zuzana, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really happy to have this opportunity to meet you and also to speak about my journey.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the change.
Change Talks, your passport to exciting changes in your business, career, and life. Change Talks, your podcast when it's time to do things differently.
Zuzana, your career path just screams for my first question, which is how come that you started in the cruise ship industry? Because you are coming from Slovakia, right? Yeah. This is a beautiful country in the middle of Europe with great sights, fantastic nature, the mountains, but there is no sea. So how come?
Well, how come? It was a surprise for me as well when that happened, but was just being in the right place in the right time. At the time, I just came back from 1 year stay in the US, back to Slovakia. I think that was 2003, where I was doing my au pair experience. If someone doesn't know, that was a live-in babysitter. And I came back and I was looking for a new job. And in profesia.sk, there was this advertisement, there was this job ad saying corporate trainer. And when I looked at it, I didn't understand anything what they want me to do, but I was meeting all the expectations or all the requirements. So I said, okay, this sounds all right. This sounds good. It's traveling, and let's try it. So I went for a full day assessment interview, and when I left after 8 hours of doing different exercises, including the English test and presentation skills, I was absolutely flabbergasted, and my way of thinking was, no way I'm getting this job. And the next day, I just got an email saying, you are hired. So you are going to leave in a few months for a cruise ship. You need to do these things in order to prepare, which was medical and some training. And then in about 3 months, I flew to Miami and I started my cruise industry journey.
And what was the job about?
The job, so it was a corporate trainer. Nowadays, it's called training and development manager. And the job was about actually training the crew or the staff on various things, starting with onboarding through English classes to some hospitality customer service training, and most importantly, some safety training and crisis and crowd management. So there were they were called crew training centers. These were like a small educational centers on board of each ship. And we had several computers. So the team members could have come there and study languages, computers, typing, anything they wanted to. And then we were also running different classes, as I mentioned, English or also Spanish. And then it was a regular training and development function. So depending on the cruise cycle, it could be 3 days, 4 days, 1 week, or 10 days. Each cruise cycle, there were new people offboarding, there were old people offboarding, and new people were coming in. And it was legal required by the US Coast Guard that these people are trained on certain things. So we were delivering the training each cruise for these new people. But as I said, we had also different other things. There was also some leadership skills trainings we delivered. And there was 2 modules on crisis and crowd management. So how to handle crowds in case of an emergency. And then we did also some hospitality trainings because customer service was priority number 1 besides safety on cruises.
Mm-hmm. So the training was on board of these ships. So you were traveling with the crew, with the passengers, and just in their spare time they attended your trainings. Okay, and the cruises were I suppose it was something like nice hot Caribbean.
Yeah.
No?
Well, exactly. Yeah,
Was it?
that time I was working for Carnival Cruise Line, which was the biggest. That time it was the largest cruise line with the biggest fleet, and the cruises where I there on the ships where I were in the Caribbean, and then Mexico, Riviera, Hawaii, and Alaska. Nowadays, they extended their portfolio to Australia and Europe and some other destinations, but that time they were focusing mostly on these destinations.
Okay, so that sounds almost like dream job, right?
It was.
Traveling the Caribbean under the hot sun, but get paid actually for that, which
Yes.
is that's cool. But for you, I think that must have been quite substantial change, right? Because you were moving from your home country, and you moved not just some one single location, but basically you moved to the moving target, right? The moving ship.
Yeah.
So it was to be out of your home and kind of a little bit like not homeless in a sense, to be always on the move. How did you cope with that from your personal perspective? How difficult it was? What helped you to accommodate this new lifestyle?
Yeah. So I think I was born with change in my blood, because every time there is something new happening in my life, I get super excited. And this was not my first experience abroad, because as I mentioned, before this job, I spent 1 year in Massachusetts, US, as a live-in au pair. And so I spent 13 months away from my family, and I knew that, I can emotionally manage this separation. And when I came to Miami, we were really taken care of. The company provided an absolutely amazing onboarding for us. We spent 1 week being trained on the job in the headquarters, provided hotel, food, everything, program. And then we were sent, it was, I think, 5 of us at the time, 5 of the newbies from various parts of the world. And we were sent by a senior trainer on board of the ship. And then we continued our onboarding for 3 weeks on board of one ship. And then after 1 month, we got our own ship. We were assigned to a ship, but we were assigned to another senior trainer. So for the first contract, we were doing about 6 months contracts. I was all the time under wings of someone. They were taking care of me. So I was being mentored, guided, and people on the ships are very respectful, because you live away from your home, from your families, from your environment, and it's floating world. It has its own bubble, and in order to manage a safe life there, everyone needs to be very respectful, and this actually helps a lot of people to adjust to that. There were people who didn't manage this change because the working environment is pretty hard. I don't know, maybe that has changed now. But when I was there in 2004, it was a hard work. So a lot of people don't manage, but I was lucky because in my job, the complete onboarding and mentorship which I received helped me to overcome this change. And then, you are in the Caribbean, you go off the ship and you see all the beauties, you see the beautiful sea all the time. Sea has a calming effect on people, right? So that was fantastic. I can't say that I had a one day where I was missing my family or I was missing land. So yeah.
Okay. So it really sounds like, a dream thing, to do. So then the next question obviously is like, what's then lets you to the transition from the ship to the next career milestone. Why? What was that?
Yeah. So, change fatigue is there. And if you live out of the suitcase for 4 years and then you do 6 months contract on board of the ship and 6 to 8 weeks on vacation, and then again another ship, you never return to the same ship. Sometimes you actually change 2 ships or few ships within the contract. You meet thousands and thousands of people. You make great friendships, but then people go, or you go. So, and for 4 years or 3 years, I think I was managing very well. But then actually I was tired. I was tired of living out of suitcase. I was tired of not having a stable own place. And I was actually emotionally exhausted of saying goodbye to people. So I decided it's time to go, time to settle down in one place and start to work on the career on land. And so that's why I decided to come back and settle in Prague.
Okay, so that was quite a change again, right? Like, from the sunny Caribbean back to Central Europe, to Prague. There is not that much sun, really, especially during the winter time. So, and you moved to HR, right? So you basically stayed in touch with people. And what was your next job then in Prague?
I started as a human resources manager at one of the 5-star hotels in Prague. And coming back from cruise ships to land and from US to Europe and to Prague specifically, it was actually a harder change than going on the ships, because I totally had to change my lifestyle. And I started in the job where I can say, didn't know anything about 30% of the job. Recruitment, legal, regulations. We've never had that on board of the ships, right? That was not part of the training and development. But the general manager gave me a chance, because I admitted this in the interview, and he gave me a chance. And I am very grateful for that. But that time I had to adjust to life on land, life in a new country with no friends. I knew one person in Prague, new job, and people in the job, right? So the size of the change that time, it was 2007, was extreme. And for 6 months, every day I woke up thinking, I'm going back to ships. I can't make this. This is something I can't deal with. I was very sad because I was used to be surrounded by people all the time on the ships. It's a very condensed environment. And when you finish work, you have no privacy. So you actually go to to be among the people. In Prague, everyone went to their homes and no one wanted to, be friends. And I was also dealing a little bit with that I was Slovak coming from US and who I am to tell these people how to do their jobs. So that was a bit of an attitude there. So that was difficult. That was really difficult. And really 6 months it took me to adjust. To finally I started to make some friends and, get used to the life and enjoy it, because also the job was a bit stressful at the beginning because I had to learn it. There were a few things, like 70%, as I said, I knew very well, and I had a very good school in the US. But then this 30%, the local stuff, that was a big challenge.
I like that you quite nicely described the different facets of the change of the career change. Because when people ask me, okay, shall I do this kind of career move, yes or no? I say, okay, it's about how many things you are prepared to change. Because if you change your career, it's about going to a new company. Then you may go also to the new country. You may do a completely different kind of the job. Yeah? So the question is how many of these variables you are able to manage, and based on the risk attitude of that person, the answer is how much they can actually withstand as a change in the career. So you really seem to be quite a bold person, going for these big changes, on all the axes, basically moving.
Yeah. Well, my friends, they tell me that I'm a shooter. That when I think of an idea, I just go and do it. But that's not like that. It took me about 6 months to decide to leave the ships. So I always, also evaluate, and I tread the mill a little bit. I look at, why do I want to do that, and how do I want to do that? Before I decided to go to Prague, I had 2 other destinations where I wanted to be. I wanted to go to Canada, wanted to go to Barcelona, but I evaluated all the options, and only then I decided for Prague. That was my 3rd option, actually. It was the easiest one, to be honest. Well, the easiest one would be to go to Slovakia, but I didn't want that. So, yes, I am bold, but before I make the bold moves, I always evaluate. And this is something which I always try to do when I do the career coaching. When people come, that I want to change, I first need to understand why they want to change, what leads them to that, and how sure they are about this career change. Because sometimes they just want to change it, but they don't understand their own motivation.
Yeah. That's I would call it this superficial kind of understanding of the change. Yeah? That people see just the bright, shiny aspects of the change, and then they are surprised by the real world actual implications they need to deal with. It doesn't matter if it's the career change, or if it's a business project, or if it's starting own business as an entrepreneur, right? Okay, so you settled after these 6 months. Things started to basically click into the place. You get used to the ground, the soil is solid, it's not moving, right? Actually,
well,
out of curiosity, these big ships. Actually, I haven't been, on these big ships. Do they move, or they are very stable?
They do. You can feel it. Depends how motion sensitive you are. People still get seasick on them, especially when the seas are a bit rougher. But this is a good anecdote. Every time I left the ship for my time off, it took me about 2 weeks to actually stop rocking. So when you go to bed, you can still kind of have a sensation, feel the sensation that you are rocking, so from left to right. So your body just remembers the movement. So it takes about a week or two.
So the stories of these like old guys from the ships that are walking like on the ground this way we okay, I understand. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I
it's not
understand.
like that, but yeah, you can feel the movement, definitely.
Okay, so old seasoned sailors, fly. Okay, good. So then what happened then? Because I think that your next stop was in real estate. Is it right?
Yes, well, I spent 10 years in the hospitality industry, which was, I think, or 9 years, 5 years in one five-star hotel and then 4 years in another five-star hotel. But already when I was moving to the other five-star hotel, I was tired of being in the hospitality. It's very dynamic environment, and you have to be very fast in reacting to certain circumstances. There is a very direct contact with people, from the kitchen stewards to general manager, which is fantastic, but it can be a bit overwhelming. And about 7 years to my hospitality career, I was thinking I would like to change the industry. And it's difficult, it's difficult to change the industry, to persuade the people that,
Let me guess. Yeah, when you went for the interview, they told you, well, your resume looks nice, but actually you have no experience in real estate, and we are looking for somebody who's been doing 10 years in real
yes.
estate.
Well, actually, this company was the only one who didn't look at that like that. I was applying for jobs in different industries, and I was speaking to quite a lot of headhunters. That time I had a very good professional network among a lot of people, and so I was spreading the word. I would like to change the industries, but even the headhunters were telling me, you don't have experience from banking, you don't have experience from pharma. You are in the hospitality, so it's not possible. It's almost impossible, and this and that. And I am very stubborn in a way, so I didn't stop. I didn't give up. And eventually, one of these headhunters came back to me and he said, "I think I might have a job for you, where you might be able to actually change the industry." And I went to the real estate. Already at the beginning, I mean, the owner of the company was very open. He was actually looking for someone who comes from the dynamic environment. Because his business was very, very dynamic. So he wanted someone who is resilient and who can manage this fast pace. So yeah, I started there, but it was a bigger challenge than I thought, I have to say.
Okay. Well, I will go back for a second, to this problem of switching the industries during the career path. Yeah, so it's a very frequent problem, right?
Yes.
And I think the root cause is that the managers are just like scared to hire somebody who has no experience. But on the other hand, what they are missing is somebody who can bring new, fresh ideas, right? I always, tell the story that when I was recruiting, for example, product managers, I specifically told the HR people and the recruiters that I don't want a person who had been in the product management before, because the experience I made with these people at the interviews, they came and said, okay, so let's imagine that you are supposed to launch a new product. Just describe me the process, the thinking, like, how would you do that? And they said, okay, so I would, open the Google and look at the product conditions of the competition, and then, pick up the different elements, yeah, and combine that together. And that's the way how we've always done it. Come on. Yeah.
That's the way how we
I don't
always
want,
done it. That's the
I don't
magic
want,
sentence.
yeah, I don't want people like that. Yeah, because if you want to move things forward, you need people with fresh look, on the on an industry, on the problem that you want to resolve, right? You don't want somebody who's been doing that for 10, 15 years and is just replicating and replicating in the same way. But I know it's very difficult to persuade the managers to take this kind of risk because, in a sense, it's a risk. But if you look for a person with the right attitude, yeah, with the right set of behaviors, and with the proven track record of mastering these kind of changes, then it's like no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and that you were actually able to get this this job because you were in direct interaction with the owner of the business. That again tells me that when you are dealing with owners of the businesses, they have different approach, different attitudes than people who work in corporations and big organizations, right? Because they rather tend to protect their careers. Yeah, they don't want too much noise coming their direction. But if it's your own business, you want to grow that, you want to develop that, you have very personal motivation to do that. So you behave differently. So it's good for you that you were able to find a person like that and company like that allow this kind of change and bold move again between the industries. Was the real estate something that you were looking for, that you said, okay, this is the way to go, or was it rather that you wanted to get out of the hospitality and this was a good chance?
I think neither of these. I had a couple of industries where I didn't want to go, which was logistics and production, because that was even probably more fast-paced than hospitality. And I said, no, I don't want that. But other than that, I didn't really have a preference. And this opportunity came, and it had various elements which I liked about it. It was a growing company in 4 markets, and I was going to be dealing directly with the owner. It was a commercial real estate. I liked it. It was a good option. It was at the time the only option only opportunity I received. But things played well, and I was happy to accept it.
Mm-hmm. And you stay at least in your branch or of HR, or was the job about something? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just changing the industry. I was staying in the HR field. The expectation was that I will set up the HR processes and tidy up a little bit, which was something that was built on the greenfield. But unfortunately, that expectation, then the owner realized that actually that's not something he wants, and it was not really moving forward with my proposals. So I decided that it's time to leave, because he actually initially wanted something that he realized later that he doesn't want. So it was a bit difficult to work there. And I could feel that I was tired. I was really tired. And I started to have some symptoms of the burnout. So I decided, okay, time to go. And that was a very big aha moment, because, you've got your mortgage, you've got your things to pay. And that was something that was holding me back. But eventually I came to the tipping point and I said, you know what? Doesn't matter if I have a mortgage or, if I need to continue my career or my ego is going to be hurt. I just need to leave here without no plan. And I will see how the things go. And then I left from one day to another.
You mentioned the burnout, which is the theme that I have to admit is emerging more and more frequently when I talk to people I think it's because maybe like, my social bubble is like, high performing managers, either from a corporate environment or entrepreneurs. They are on like, the same age like me, which is very young, of course.
Yes.
But no, seriously, and actually, like, a couple of them went through this experience of burnout, and I think it's something to really talk about quite openly, because it's a serious problem, and I think a lot of people are actually facing that. They are maybe at the very, like, at the edge of the burnout, but it's difficult for them to recognize that. So perhaps, what were, like, the symptoms? What made you realize that you are approaching this very dangerous, let's say, stage?
So I started to have panic attacks on Sunday afternoon before going to work on Monday. At several occasions when I was at work and in front of the computer, I started to have the blurred vision. So I had to leave and go for a walk, or start to breathe out and breathe in and change the environment. Of course, I had a sleeping issues, and then I didn't like my job. Every time there was someone who came to me asking something, like a person, I was like, oh God, what do they want again? And I was the human resources manager and I was supposed to help the people. But every time I saw a person, I was like, oh God, what do they want again? And then I realized, I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I need to go away and I don't know, do something with my life, because I really didn't, I stopped liking my job. Before I was very much devoted to people and customer service, but I came to the point where.
Can you identify? I know that it's very difficult, but okay, I will ask my question, and we'll see if you will be able to answer it.
Okay.
Is there any, like, specific, let's say, moment, like, or break point, that you can describe that other people could use as a warning flag? I know it's a tricky question, because I suppose it's more of a step-by-step process, right? That your attitude to the job and so on is changing over time. And I suspect that it's not like, one big moment, but is there anything, like, that you can give as a tip, as a recommendation, as a warning sign to people who are listening, like, to say, okay, maybe, like, watch out, because I see this or that kind of symptom behavior element?
I think that when people really get to the like they stop liking the going to work or being among people at work, and they stop enjoying what they do, or they start to be like annoyed, like I have to do this and that. This is kind of like, and it's not the beginning, it's more like advanced beginning, but that's something that you can actually recognize yourself. Because then it moves to the physical symptoms, which I mentioned, like panic attacks, anxiety, heart palpitations, and sleeping problems, and so on. And I think that's already a bit too late. So when you start to feel that you don't enjoy your work, and then you don't enjoy being among your colleagues and in the office and so on, I think that's something to look at and think, what is the reason? Why is this happening to me? And in this case, I think it's still early enough, just, for example, to have a career coach or a coach in general, instead of having a psychology consultant or psychiatrist, because with the career coach, you can deep dive into this and explore, and you can have a guided conversation, because a lot of people might not be able to do the self-reflection on what's happening to them. And I didn't recognize it on time. I went to the almost to the end. Luckily, I didn't collapse, and there are a lot of stories when people ended up in the psychiatric ward or in the hospital because they had a total breakdown. Body just collapsed. Luckily, I didn't come there, but my body gave me signals, and I don't know if I listened to them, but one day I just woke up and I said, I can't do this anymore. And I just resigned.
Yeah, as you say, that's what I suspected. It's a process that takes time, and this early warning sign is very, very light, because when you talk to many, mid-tier, managers in companies, they tell you, well, I don't like my job very much, and they take it as a normal sign, right? It's a part of the deal. There are good times, good moments, there are good aspects of the job, but there are just some things that just suck, yeah? And they feel, okay, if there is some solid balance, then it's fine. This is how it should be. But the trouble is that they already may be on the beginning of the path, towards the burnout, yeah? So to recognize it early is very important, as you say, because I also have friends, or I know people that approach that very, very dangerous stage, with the physical symptoms, and then they needed the medical treatment, basically, which is which is not where you want to go, yeah.
And
But
it takes too long time to get over it.
Yeah. Which is also something that people do not realize, because I think that this burnout thing is quite fresh. Yeah. I can imagine that talking about burnout with my mother, she would look at me like, what's that? Okay. Come on,
My
crazy.
parents don't understand it either,
Yeah.
I was 9 months at home and they were like, you're not bored? And I was like, no, but I was traveling. I was not at home. But when I was not traveling and I was at home, I was like, no, I am busy, enjoying life, because when you work, you don't have that much time.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's a fresh topic. Yeah, it's a fresh thing, and we don't have that many experiences how to deal with that. So you basically were lucky to realize it's still on time, and you made a right decision. Yeah, you mentioned that you had a mortgage and so on. So I can imagine that it was quite difficult move, right? But when you know what could be the next phase, I think there is no hesitation. So you took the career break. The career break, you took it for traveling, you mentioned. So you were going around the world. Basically, what did you do to get back kind of in shape, or how to say it, and find
I had no plan.
path?
This was a very organic change process here, without no plan and no strategy. So I resigned, and I told myself I'm going to make one of my dreams come true. And I always wanted to visit Argentina. So I bought a flight ticket to Argentina, and I started to plan the journey. So I went there for a month. And I actually the fact that I left the country, I left far away, I was traveling alone. Of course I was meeting people, but getting away from that environment where I spent almost 10 years, and I actually was overwhelmed by that environment, helped me. But it was not only that 1 month. I came back and I realized I need a bit more of getaway. So I went away again for another month to Costa Rica. And I spent a lot of time in the forest and by the seaside. Only then I came back and I was somehow ready, but not fully ready. But the bank account was pressurizing me. So that was something where I had to evaluate when is the time to come back. So yeah, if it wasn't up to mortgage and finances, I think I would have taken longer break, but 9 months was sufficient. And getting away from everything, from people, from the environment was my remedy.
I think that's actually one of the important elements here, to get really away. Because I think if you stay in the same environment with the same people, it probably is more difficult or may take even longer to overcome the burnout. Are there any, lessons or any observations that you made during these 9 months that transformed your view on your career, life, and so on?
I think here I realized that I can do actually anything and everything if I want to, because I didn't have any family commitments, so that was easier because I could have left just anytime, anywhere. But traveling alone and spending a lot of time alone, I could have not imagined before that I would go alone somewhere on vacations or even on a weekend trip. And traveling alone and doing things alone and taking care of myself in the country where at that time my Spanish was very basic, so I couldn't speak the language much. And I didn't know the culture. Latino culture is very different. So yeah, the learning lesson or the lesson is that I could manage anything and everything if you just want and you are motivated.
I think that's a powerful realization.
Yeah.
That which is very true. We are often so limited in our thoughts and our beliefs that, okay, I cannot do this, I cannot move there. But the real thing is that you can. It's just a matter of starting, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so after these 9 months, you realize that you are kind of ready to go back to work. So what were your considerations? Were you still considering going back to some company, or starting your own business was on top of the list? What was the thought process?
So this entire 9 months, I wasn't thinking of work at all. I told myself at the beginning, okay, I will be thinking what I can do in the future. I don't think I want to go back to the HR and work with people because I'm tired of people. And the entire time I didn't think about it. And then I realized I need to start looking for a job. And I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do, the only thing I can actually do is being in HR, working with people. The feedback was good from my colleagues, from my direct reports, from my managers, and so on. So I was like, okay, so I'm doing something right there. I just don't want to do it anymore. But then I needed to go back to the working process fast. And I started to send the applications without actually, again, any plan. And no one was inviting me for interviews, And I was already by that time doing some kind of a career coaching. And I was like, what's wrong? The CV is good. The experience is good. The age is okay. I think I was 40 at the time. So I was like, yeah, what's wrong? And then after 3 months of not really getting anywhere, or not 3 months, 2 months, I was like, okay, I actually don't want to go back to corporate life, and I don't want to be an employee. So I don't want it myself. I mean, there were a couple invitations for interviews I received, and I don't think I was I was having the right energy in the interview. So I was like, okay.
By the way, did you realize what was the obstacle? Why not getting the invitations for interviews?
I think I was in a way overselling myself in the CV. At the same time, I think it was again the same aspect, like hospitality, real estate. I was trying different industries,
Mm-hmm.
the same bubble. So
Okay. I was curious if if it was like this 9-month break or yeah. So
I don't think so. I don't think it was a 9-month break. I think it was rather that, I had real estate and I had hospitality, and I was applying for technology companies, pharma companies, and other lives.
as if HR is very different, in pharma.
Yes. And then I started to speak to my friends and saying, I don't know what to do, this and that. And luckily, I have several very good friends who also are in the HR, and especially one. And she proposed that I work with her in the executive search. And then she connected me to some other people. And then somehow I managed to get a nice freelance job with the public relation company. It was not a job, it was a gig. But it was interesting. And this was something actually I wanted, but I didn't know it. This was really, again, organic change. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a career coach. But being resilient and not giving up and looking and searching, I came to the right thing. And then another very good friend came to me and she said, you know what, there is this mentoring program. I know, you've been through this, changes in your career, because I was speaking to her about it. I don't know what to do and so on. Maybe this would be helpful. And I signed up, and it's the mentoring program with the British Chamber of Commerce. And I had a very amazing mentor. And that was a 1-year journey for me, where I was doing these little businesses, little gigs that kept me floating with the finance. And I actually enjoyed it because it was flexible, it was variable. And I had this mentor who guided me through this reinvention. And he told me about this, I call it operating model, that, there are consultants, external consultants that work with the global companies. And they don't need to be employed, but they work as a contractor. And I was like, okay, I like this model. I would like to do that once. And, destiny, I don't know. I never done anything for that. And one day I received a phone call from an agency that actually does this kind of corporations. And I was approached if I want to work with my current big client. And it worked out, and it's been now 6 years I've been associated with this pharmaceutical company, already on the second large global transformation.
Mm-hmm. So it was kind of natural process that you started your own business, that you are now self-employed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I did a lot of things, for it. I had my website and LinkedIn and, networking. I think the networking is the most crucial part. So it not all came to me like, like this. You need to really work. But I didn't have the plan like, this is what I'm going to do. It was organic and it was fluid. I just knew what I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to go, to meet that. So that was, I think, the way of moving forward.
What was the reaction of your colleagues, friends, and family to changing this kind of style of work? So not to be employed, but be self-employed. Because usually people feel, okay, if you are employed, you have the stability, regular income, all these nice perks, of being employed, while leaving these 9-to-5 jobs is more unsecure, etc. So were they supportive, or what was the reaction?
So my friends, part of them are working as freelancers or have their own businesses. So, they were supporting. Actually, they were my inspiration. And those who are still, or they have been in corporate world, they were also supportive, and they were telling me that I'm courageous and bold to do that. But they were supportive. And I'm very lucky with my parents, because my parents, obviously, they had some concerns, but they know me from when I was born, and they know that I always had my head and I was very independent and I made my own decisions. So they trusted me. They knew that, I chose a path, and if I choose a path, that I always make the most out of it to succeed. So they might have been worried, but they didn't voice their worries, not to discourage me or not to scare me. So yeah, I'm lucky to have parents like that.
Yeah, truly you are, because the support, or the lack of support of your social bubble is very important.
Yeah.
When people are making these moves from the regular job, the self-employed, starting own business, it's very crucial to have people around you that support you, because you have a lot of other things that you have to overcome. Yeah. First, obstacles are in your mind, where people obviously
That's the biggest one.
are scared. Yeah, you are moving into completely unknown waters. Yeah, and then on top of that, you have a lot of practical problems to resolve when you are founding the company and all the things around that. And if on top of that you have lack of support, or actually you are facing discouragement and doubts from your friends and family, it's more difficult, right?
Yeah.
So you are lucky.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, and maybe also, as I said, I'm a bit stubborn in a way. And I had a friend once asking me when I went to Argentina, she was like, "What is the thing you are the most afraid of?" And I said that I lose my phone, because I have everything in there. I was not afraid that, I get robbed or I get injured or something, because these are things that you can solve somehow. And also it's about, being like cautious. But I was like losing my phone. I have my banking, I have my contacts, I have my information. I buy tickets and book hotels and everything. And I was like, if I lose that, then I don't know what to do. So my perspective of dangers is probably a little bit different than with any other person.
Okay, so good to know. Yeah, always keep you close to your phone, and and then it's fine. Okay, good. So when you started this this freelancing, and although it was a sequencing process, what would you say were the biggest challenges that you had to face at the very beginning?
I think the fear of insecurity, because you don't know when the payment is coming in. It's not like, you come, you do or you don't do your job, and then the payment is there at the end of the month. You here you need to do your job, and then you need to make sure there is another job coming or another, client, and sometimes the client doesn't pay. So I think that it's the fear of insecurity, and again, it's this change of a mindset where you need to reevaluate the benefits or what you're looking for, right? And this is what I'm saying nowadays, like, I could have had a stable income and paid vacation and bonuses, but then I would have been stuck in one office building and, well, maybe one team or several teams and one country. And I didn't want that. So now I might have a bigger chance of financial instability, but it gives me flexibility of I can choose who I work with, and then also where I work from and how I work. I mean, of course, the flexibility has its limitations, but it's bigger than being in a corporate world. And when I decide to take off, and I'm not paid. But again, it's something you need to deal with in your head. What is your priority? So it's the fear of this instability is the biggest thing to overcome.
So is the recipe to overcome this fear realization of the different benefits that the freelancing gives you? So that was for you, yeah.
Yeah.
So for you was okay. Yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
I think it's a constant reminder of what is important for you in life. And after this burnout, for me, the well-being is important. And I have to remind myself every week, because I tend to go over the limit many times. And also I need to remind myself, like, you are the master of your time and master of your life.
Mm-hmm. Being a freelancer usually means also a completely different style of work. Did you notice that? What kind of changes you observed when you compare your typical, let's say, working day or working rhythm when you were in corporates and now when you are self-employed?
Yeah. Well, it needs some discipline, definitely. I think bigger discipline than when you are in the corporate world. You work from home a lot of time, most of the time. So it's really like, have a start time. You don't necessarily need to have a finish time, but you need to set it up. Or if you take a longer break during the day, then you need to have the discipline to come back and catch up. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And whether it is in the evening or it's in the weekend, or I don't know when, but it catches you up. So you need to catch up first. So it's the discipline, I think. At the same time, it's the awareness of well-being, because working from home or being a freelancer, you end up working longer hours, and you really need to kind of like I have to sometimes schedule like the I'm going for a walk, or I'm going for an exercise, or doing this because I would be at the computer for way too many hours, which is not healthy. So it's a discipline and awareness.
Yeah. So as you say, it's a very good observation, actually, that the discipline is twofold. It's the working discipline, because when you are not, working for any kind of like boss or organization, the organization usually sets the timelines for you. So you are like in the office in the morning, and you look into your calendar, and you know what you are going to do because there will be meetings scheduled for you, or some project that you need to complete or task to complete. So they fill your calendar. If you are self-employed, you fill up your calendar, right? And you need to have the discipline to do that. And also there is this second discipline about your free time, your well-being, because it's very easy actually to have this blurred line between I work or I rest. And I have to say that I do the same thing actually. I schedule free time.
Yeah.
So sometimes I book a whole day just to go to the country, to the nature, hiking, whatever. Sometimes just half a day, but I realize that I have to really do that because otherwise my tasks tend to overflow or and consume. Because that is always something that you would like to do. There is always something to do, right? And if you are freelancer, your vision of these weekends is more blurred, kind of. Yeah. So it's a good observation and a good, I think, tip, for fresh entrepreneurs, so that you will need a lot of self-discipline to schedule your work, but also discipline to schedule your free time.
Yes. But sometimes when you are on a project like I am now, they make your calendar very busy. So I don't need to work on that. I just need to work on making it actually balanced. So currently that's my struggle. Like I have my work discipline, but sometimes the number of meetings they want me to attend to is way too many. So I need to really blocks where I need to have focus time or let's say me time, relax time, because otherwise that would be a bit too overwhelming. So depending what kind of business you do, but I think when you are part of the global project, it's a little bit like a corporate life, but with the pinch of freelance. And there you need to manage two different worlds. And that's probably even more complex than being only freelance or being only corporate.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when you worked with these corporates, from the outside, you have now kind of independent, fresh look, right? New perspective suddenly. So if you have this kind of view now, what kind of, let's say, observations, interesting lessons you may share that could be useful, for the people who are still into corporate managers, to give them, what's your take on how the organizations cope with change, how they approach it, how they are equipped to deal with that?
This is a very broad question, or requires a very broad answer. In general, I believe that corporations are too bound by processes and policies. And that limits the people to go outside of the box and bring a different perspective. The magic sentence, we've always done it this way, is the killer.
That's the mantra, right?
That's the mantra, that's the killer. And I'm very lucky to work with people who are open to change, even on a senior level, like HR heads and so on. But it's still, constantly having in mind there are some policies, there are some processes, there are some country limitations and so on. So in general, my advice to the corporate world would be let go of boundaries to a certain extent and let it flow outside of the box.
What do you think is limiting than the people, the managers in these organizations to actually do that. Because let's imagine that there is some person who is scratching his or her head, saying, "Okay, I would like to change this or that. I don't know how to do that because we have all these processes, we have all these boundaries." So, what would you recommend as a good starting point for that person?
Not to be scared. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to voice over something that is innovative or that will bring a new solution. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you go back to the old one.
Yeah.
But if you don't move ahead, that you don't move forward, you will be static and frustrated and unhappy. And eventually the person who is unhappy will leave the company, for example, or I don't know, but then they will go from pink to more pink or black to more black, I don't know. But yeah, so don't be afraid.
Yeah. It's really interesting always to talk to people who are in the change management, in the same industry, in the same business as I am, because although we have different experiences, we came to the same conclusions, right? So it's always cool, to have these kind of confirmations that yeah, it's really the ground is really the very basics of the change. Yes, first is just don't be scared, don't be afraid, and have the trust that you can actually make it. Because when you have this, you will always be able to find a way how to do that, and all the other things will then just follow, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you are working with your clients, the first step always is for them to realize that they need help.
But they need to do that themselves.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
they need to realize that themselves. Yeah, because sometimes you have like I call it like fake clients, yeah, or like window shoppers that
Yes.
you have a couple of sessions with them, and they describe that they have some problem, they want to change this or that, but during the discussion we realize that actually they are not just interested in the real change. They just are looking for some kind of pretense or for something that they can show up, the corporate ladder as a proof that they are doing something, but they really do not have the guts what it takes, right? Now, working with the corporate people, how do you say they are equipped, skill set wise, to deal with change?
As I said, with my current project, I'm very lucky because I have people who support the change. They don't necessarily understand the change cycle or change process, but they support it. So also the company I'm associated with now, they do a lot of changes. So people, again, I will repeat myself, they support the change. How they are equipped, I think not much. They need guidance there, what needs to be done. Sometimes they just want to do the things straightforward without thinking, fast train. And, you need to do that a bit more, maybe strategically or a bit more caring and nurturing of the clients and so on, or the end users. And sometimes it is good to take the risk. So you need to recognize that, and they don't. So I think it's important that us as change professionals, we guide them in this and provide insights on what is the best approach to specific change.
Yeah, it's very true, because if there are people in the organization and they are in charge of running the business on a daily basis, suddenly to change the view how the work is done is very difficult for them. They are not trained specifically for this. And also they do not have that much time, right? Because if you are busy just running the engine, making sure that the processes are running and you are servicing your clients and so on, when the people should suddenly start to think about, okay, how we can improve this and why we do that and etc. Because they are just busy doing the stuff, right?
Yeah, they just want to do it fast, and you need to kind of like stop them and tell them like, listen, no, you need to involve this group of people, that group of people. This needs to be done. The training needs to be done a bit more thoroughly, or a bit more differently than you were thinking. This is an old style, doing it, 2-hour presentation to a group of people who in a way of a monologue. So they have certain awareness, but they don't understand the consequences of certain activities.
Yeah. Okay. So you work now as an external coach or external consultant with these companies. Is this all you do, or do you have more facets how you help people to deal with change? Are you still in this career coaching, or what is the full scope actually of your services? So if somebody thinks, okay, Zuzana looks as a great person, to help us out. So what is in your portfolio actually?
Yeah. So yeah, my main focus is change management. So if there is a company that needs maybe a outside perspective on how to implement the change from people side from the people side, yeah. So I can provide insights, I can deliver strategies, I can even implement the strategies on the change management, whether it's the technology or it's the organizational structure, changing the organizational structure. So that's my main focus, the core of the business. And then close to my heart is actually the career coaching, where I help the individuals to transition their careers, to reinvent themselves, to get the jobs of their dreams. Because and the reason why it is close to my heart is because you can see the impact and the results right away, and you see the people, how happy they are. So that's what I do. So whether a person wants to really, they are not sure what they want to do, or if they need to change, or even if they are at the verge of burnouts, I can guide them through the realization process. And then once the realization process is complete, then we can do the preparation for the new job or for the interview.
Okay, that's really cool. So if they are interested, how they can get in touch with you?
So I have my own website. It's zuzanafiantokova.com. So remember my name, which is not that easy.
I will put the links into the episode description. Don't worry.
And then I think the biggest platform where I am actually the most active and receive the most requests is the LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is the place where you can find me the most often.
Okay, so if you are looking for seasoned change management consultant or for somebody to help you turn your career upside down, I will put the links to Zuzana's website and LinkedIn profile in the podcast episode. Okay, good. Zuzana, thank you so much for this very interesting discussion. I think we could have talked for more time, definitely, especially about the cruise ships, because I think that's a very very interesting topic, right? I don't know that many people with this experience. No, I know just you now, just one person.
But my experience is now
But
20
it
years
looks,
old, so a lot of things changed there. So,
but it's something like very exotic, right?
Yeah.
And especially, considering that you are coming from a country with no sea. Okay, so thank you so much once again. I hope that you also enjoyed the Change Talks podcast. And for the people interested to get in touch with you, the contacts will be in the episode description.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our time together, and until next time.
Okay, thank you. So if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit the follow button and give Change Talks podcast the 5-star rating, because your support helps to get this content to people who are just like you, interested in a change. So have a great day. Until next time, and make the change work.